Afternoon, everyone. Welcome. We're just giving it around 30 seconds or so just to let everybody get logged in, and then we're going to get going. We're mindful people are on lunch and want to get this probably completed. So we will get going as soon as possible. If anybody is joining a little later, they probably only missed the agenda and things like that. Speak soon. Okay, so I think I'll get going. So welcome to the T-Level On-Site Construction and Building Services Curriculum Delivery Plan webinar. Thanks for joining us. Today, with regards to who's on the webinar, we've got Michael Scarrett, Product Specialist from EAL. We've got Jason Howe, Construction Technical Advisor from City and Guilds. We've got Alison Whittle, Post 16 Technical Advisor, and myself, Rob Malinder, Technical Advisor for BSE. We've also put contact details on the slides there for the Industry Manager for Construction and BSE, Salim and Naz. So let's get moving into today's webinar. We have got questions section, so you should see a questions tab down there in the right hand toolbar. Please feel free to drop questions in there throughout the webinar. We will be keeping people on mute. We are working from home as well, so please disregard any background noise. We'll endeavour to answer most questions at the end. We should get plenty of time at the end to answer questions. If we feel it's appropriate, people might drop in and answer questions as we go. All attendees will be in listen only mode. That's why we're trying to get you to use the question function. You should get the webinar resources sent through with regards to a recording, and a certificate will also be sent, a CPD certificate, out to all attendees attending the webinar. People not attending the webinar but signing up should also get a copy of the recording as well. So any of these you think, well, I might not be able to attend that, you know, it's still worth signing up because you'll get the recording post the event if it's on GoToWebinar. Teams meetings we use sometimes that you don't necessarily get a recording, but things like the webinars we're doing today, you will get a recording. So we're going to be looking at today an high-level overview of the technical qualification over the 2 years, sequence of delivery. We're looking at some example curriculum planners. Obviously, we can't tell you how to plan your curriculum, but we're going to give you a few examples of what we learned from centres who are delivering this, you know, starting last year. Possible mapping and curriculum planning you could use to bring in that occupational specialism with the core, and maybe what a week's delivery could look like. Again, learning from what we've been told from the pilot centres starting delivering in September 21. We're going to have plenty of time for questions at the end. We're also going to look possible mapping from core to occupational specialisms, but we're not necessarily looking at progression. We're not necessarily looking at individual centre timetabling. Like I said, we can't plan your curriculum for you. We're just trying to give you an idea and the tools you could use to start thinking about curriculum planning. We'll also be looking at things like teaching weeks, exam dates, and some of the assessment principles within T-Level itself. If you've missed any of previous webinars, so we've done introductory webinars, we've done familiarisation webinars. There's a link at the bottom of this slide here. Potentially one of my colleagues might be able to drop it into the chat, where you can find all our previous webinars. So we do recap some stuff as we go on, but we do try to freshen things up as well as we progress. So all the previous webinar recordings and any resources around those webinars can be found on the link or from the link from this slide. So we're not going to go into detail around the structure of T-Level and the occupational specialisms on this slide, but just to identify each one of the on-site construction and building and services engineering core and specialisms do have different registration codes. We're going to be looking on a future slide with regards to advertising the approval webinars, which we may have to look into the chat for that. I'm not sure if we have got the slide or not in this deck for that one, but we can always put some of those in the chat, and we can also get those sent out on a follow-up email. But just to let you know, when you do register for T-level, you do have to register on the core first, and then you choose one of the following occupational specialisms. We'll have a look for those approval webinars while we're on the webinar today. If not, I think I've got them on an email. We can have a look when we're in the Q&A at the end, because that might be useful for things like your exams team and things like that. I know we dropped them into one of the pre-delivery webinars we're looking at in future, but I'm not sure we've dropped it in today's deck, so potentially we can have a look at that while we're on. It's something we've perhaps missed when we've just been looking at the development for this one. So there's a vast difference in the guided learning hours for some of those specialisms, which we're going to go into more detail. And obviously, depending, some of these might drop in and out of different bands for funding. But you know, when we're looking at curriculum planning in particular today, there's not one size fits all. As you can see, you know, you've got on-site construction there, the carpentry and joinery, the occupational specialisms got 650. Which comes up to a total of 315 guided learning hours. Then you've got electrotech, sort of mid-range, you've got 650 specialisms, but we've got a bigger core in BSE, which gives you a bigger outcome of 1485 guided learning hours. And then probably top there, that's put a little bit more content in that, so it does map into the plumbing and apprenticeship, plumbing and heating apprenticeship appropriately. There's 840 hours in the specialisms, and when we look at these, some have got more synoptic assignments in than the others, so it is a vast difference from one specialism to the other. That's all that slide's really highlighting. You know, if you look at the difference from carpentry to plumbing and heating, there's a massive amount of difference with regards to the amount of delivery time required, and that's something which should be taken into account. So we're going to be doing some specialisms on the core, and really to give you the heads up, you know, today's about curriculum planning. I'm going to delve in a little bit deeper. We're going to give the opportunity to we're going to basically run through the core learning outcomes for construction on site and for building services engineering. We're going to give you the opportunity to ask questions. As you can see, there's a lot of similarities from the left-hand table to the right. The first, 11 learning outcomes are the same. But when they've been amplified, the content can be significantly different and the assessment will be different. So, although the outline content is very similar, if you like, the high level content is very similar, when we delve deeper into these units, some of those units can differ can be very different from one to another, especially when we're looking at things like measurement and things like that. There's a lot of different circumstances when we look at measurement in construction on site to maybe some of the building services technologies we use and digital technology. The things are amplified differently. And then we've got these other 3 learning outcomes for building services, which are totally standalone. And that's why the core, when we looked at that previous slide, that's why the core for those building services outcomes is significantly larger than the on-site. So when we look at the actual delivery dates for your curriculum planners, these are all on a key date schedule. Now the link for this schedule is going to be on a future slide, but just to highlight some of the key dates, these are all on a timeline which you can find on the website. So this is the sort of thing you should be bringing into your curriculum planners. You've got your on-site construction occupational specialisms. You can start delivering the assessment from those from February 2023 up until May. I'm not going to run through all these, but these are tentative dates for the on-site construction papers. There is provisional until the general qualifications exam dates are confirmed. So these are provisional still at the moment, but you've got to be building your exam dates into those schedules. There's when the release of results to centres will be, when marking and moderation will be carried out, and all basically the key things you need to build into that curriculum plan is in this key date schedule. So we're flagging that now, but we're also going to give you a link to that on future slides. So what I'm going to do now is pass on to my colleague Jason Howe, Technical Advisor for Construction, who's going to go through mapping and examples of delivery models for the on-site construction.
Thanks for that, Rob. Just for the audience members, I have put all of the links that Rob's been mentioning throughout the presentation already. I have put them in the chat, so you should be able to click on those links if and when required, and I'll try and continue that as the webinar goes on. So do keep an eye on the chat box. So yeah, coming back to construction on site, as Rob's already mentioned, there is a core component with both of the T levels for construction and BSE, and they're accompanied by an occupational specialism. So for construction, you have the 4 main trades. You've got carpentry and joinery, plastering, paint and decorating, and bricklaying. For the core assessment, my colleague Ali is going to go into it in a bit more detail, but that's assessed by 2 externally set and marked exams and 1 employee set project. With the occupational specialism, or trade as it's more commonly known, they're assessed by an externally set and moderated practical synoptic assignment. And any knowledge that's referred to within those occupational specialisms are also inferred within that practical synoptic assignment as well. So those are the four main trades. And as we move on, we'll talk a little bit on how you may want to bring groups together for the delivery of the core, etc., but separate for their trades. Next one, please. Just a quick high-level bit of mapping, really. So we've looked at sort of blended learning models, and we looked at where part of the occupational specialism could be blended with the core. And this is what we picked for carpentry and joinery. But your other trades for brick, plaster, and paint won't be too similar as well. Obviously, they'll have their own learning outcomes and criteria that can map across accordingly. But this is just a little bit of high-level information where you can look to do a more blended learning approach with regards to the core and the occupational specialism. Next one, please, Rob. So moving into the curriculum planners or delivery planners, this screen basically just highlights the color code or the color key as we've got. So, and you'll see this as we move into the next slide. So what we've tried to do is we've looked at each component or each element that would be part of a T-level program, and then within our delivery planners that we have supplied, and there's links to them on the website, they're used as a guide, as an exemplar for you to start planning in accordingly and tailoring to suit your own centre delivery. Next one, please, Matt. So what we thought we'd do with this, obviously the year 1, term 1 will be a pretty basic model, but so we've looked at the year 2, term 1, and part of that might include an addition 2-week induction, or if you're doing multiple groups, you would have a 2-week induction at the beginning, and then you're straight into your core delivery. Now, we also plan in year, sorry, that title's actually wrong, it is year 1, term 1. We are also planning delivery or advising the delivery of the occupational specialism alongside the core in year 1 as well, albeit the delivery of the occupational specialism will be a much thinner delivery model across year 1, obviously, because it's more advanced in year 2. You can dedicate the entirety of the time. To just deliver the core in year 1 would not be, how would you keep your learners engaged? It will be a real challenge. So what we've done here is we're just highlighting that you can run them both together. Next one, please, Rob. So year 1, term 3, this just differentiates it a bit more. So yes, we've still got the core component, but we've also highlighted where the assessment windows could possibly fall within that term. So you've got your external theory exams, obviously from 30 to 36, where the employer set project could end, and we've even put in things for revision and formative assessment that you might want to just get learners prepared for what's coming ahead. And if we were to show you year 1, term 3, it would show revision sessions as well for the employee set project and so on. So it just highlights where you can start and plan, and then you can tailor these to suit actual week dates as opposed to just week numbers, and you can sort of contextualize them to suit yourself. Obviously, the occupational specialism continues, and we're just highlighting that you may want to start looking to introduce the industry placement in year 1, because 315 hours, 45 days is quite substantial to what we've been used to with the industry placements and work experience previously. Next one, please, Rob. Again, similarly, a different example, but year 2, term 1. So hopefully your learners will have passed the core exam in year 1, If not, however, we have highlighted on the screen here where there are retake opportunities for the employer set project and for your theory exam, and obviously running up to those weeks, we've put in 3 weeks prior for each one for revision as well. So just highlighting that, but we haven't highlighted any sort of major core delivery in year 2. The bulk of the delivery in year 2, the majority, if not all, will be around the occupational specialism and the development of the knowledge and skills that surround those OSs or trades. And again, the industry placement continues. Just to note as well, there's a little blue hyperlink on each one of these curriculum plans, and that takes you to the key date schedule, which is another link that I put into the chat bar. Really, I think it was the last link I input in there. So there's different links on this document that that'll take you to where you need to be. Next one, please, Rob. Year 2, term 3, again, just following on. Obviously, you're running all of your course should be done and dusted. You're focusing on your occupational specialism. You've got the run up of the last of the delivery, but it runs simultaneously with the practical assessment as well. So we just wanted to highlight and demonstrate that. And then obviously the industry placement continues. And then within August of year 2 on that curriculum, then that's when the results will be released. Next one, please, Rob. I'm now going to hand you over to Mike Scarrett, who's going to talk you through the BSE, and Mike is our colleague from EAL, who is a product specialist. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. So on this next slide, next slide, please, Rob, we'll see mapping examples for building services engineering. If we could just go on to the next one, Rob, that'd be great.
Apologies, I'm just getting a bit of a spinny wheel on my end. Can you just confirm what slide you got on at the moment, Mike? On my screen, I've got overview of the technical qualification.
That's the one, Rob. I can see it now, thank you. That's great, thank you.
Apologies, everybody, a bit of a delay.
No problems at all, Rob. No problems at all. So yeah, this is the overview of the technical qualification for building services engineering. A little bit different to the on-site construction. As you can see there's the core, and as Rob's previously explained, the first 11 outcomes title-wise are the same, but the amplification is different. As we've looked at, the core has 14 outcomes, but it's still assessed by 2 externally set and marked exams and an employer set project. Now, when we move into the occupational specialisms, we've got here Group A and Group B. Now, Group A are standalone occupational specialisms. That means that the learner would choose, obviously, they'd be mandated to do the core, but then they would choose one from Group A. So electrotechnical engineering, electrical and electronic equipment engineering, protection systems engineering, or gas engineering. So it would be the core and one from Group A. However, in Group B, you've got combined occupational specialisms. So if the learner was to complete the core and want to do plumbing engineering, they'd have to do plumbing and heating together. Or if they wanted to do, industrial commercial heating, they'd have to do the heating and ventilation together. Or if they wanted to do the refrigeration, they'd have to do the refrigeration and air conditioning together. And the difference here in this combined occupational Group B is that each one of the occupational specialisms has an assessment attached to it as well. Next slide, please, Rob. So again, here we see the core, which is mapped to the occupational specialisms. In this instance, it's an example given for plumbing and heating. We can see on this left-hand column here the 14 knowledge outcomes, which will be covered in year 1. Now, within the plumbing occupational specialism in the middle column, and the heating occupational specialism on the right side column there's also a knowledge outcome as well as performance outcome. So here we've mapped where the knowledge outcome, for instance, on the plumbing and heating and the health and safety could be delivered at the same time as the construction core. Again, if we move down to outcome 6 on the left-hand side there, measurement. it picks up again in the knowledge outcome in the occupational specialism plumbing. So they could be delivered at the same time, the same with information and data, and the same with plumbing, building service engineering systems, and plumbing and systems and heating systems. When we're delivering into year 2, perhaps, you know, run alongside the occupational specialism, some of these other aspects such as system installation, system commissioning, system maintenance and system decommissioning can be run alongside and with the occupational specialism practical aspects of it too. Next slide, please. So again, we've got an example of an expanded version of year 1, term 1 for plumbing and heating. Again, there's the induction, potentially week 1, week 2, running onto the core, which runs throughout the first year. And then perhaps in that first year, we suggest you run the occupational specialism plumbing first as content for a blended learning approach in that first year, first term. Next slide, please, Rob. Expanded version of here of year 1 and term 3. The core components running. We're picking up here in week 30 the external theory exams, of which is 2 of them. We're picking up in week 27 the employer set project. We're also picking up the revision for the exams too, week 27, 28 and 29. But running alongside here now is the occupational specialisms, plumbing and heating too. Potentially within these terms, industrial placement could be considered as well. Next slide, please, Rob. Moving on into year 2 and term 1, again, we're looking at retake opportunities if needed for the core component, the core exams, and also the employer set project, as well as running the 2 occupational specialisms, plumbing and heating together with industrial placement too. Next slide, please, Rob. And finally, moving on to year 2, term 3 then. Main focus here is the practical assessments. As you can see here, we've got 1 for plumbing and a separate 1 for heating, and then finishing off industrial placements as well. Next slide, please, Rob. So where are all these delivery planners located? Well, if you go onto the City and Guilds website, under T-levels and resources, there's a link, an accordion, curriculum delivery planners. Click on that and you'll see there's 4 there for on-site construction and 6 there for building services engineering, including some blank templates which you can adapt for yourself. Next slide, please, Rob. And finally, for me, there's just an example timetable here. So this is just a guide really for an average T-level delivery program. And it will need adapting if, for instance, in building service engineering, the learner chooses the occupational specialism which I grouped, for instance, plumbing and heating. But the main thing to look at here is the amount of hours really, or the suggested amount of hours for delivering the technical qualification within this T-level. We're suggesting here on average around about 20 hours per week to deliver the core and occupational specialism. Again, there's a suggestion here for industrial placement to be day release. Other providers this year are delivering it block release and other modes of delivery too. This is just a suggestion really. But more importantly here, look at Tuesday, for instance. You've got core, and then core and occupational specialism. What we're suggesting here, because this is assessed synoptically through 2 end exams and the employer set project at the end of the year, that this core delivery is not delivered as a unit or a separate learning outcome, but within, for instance, Tuesday, you could deliver, for instance, health and safety in that first hour and a half, and then science could be delivered for the second session, then design for the third session, and maybe construction and built environment for the fourth session. Alison will go into this into more detail, but it just gives the learner the opportunity to learn over a period of the 3 terms and then be more prepared for the synoptic examinations and employer set project at the end. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Alison, who's going to be looking at assessment.
Thanks, Mike. So in these next few slides, I'm sort of going to be unpicking some of the details of the core and the occupational specialism assessments. So looking at this slide here, for the core assessment, I think it's already been mentioned earlier on, learners must complete 2 externally set and externally marked exams. And these exams cover the knowledge from the Onsite or BSE core. And also they need to complete an employer set project, which also covers knowledge and skills from the Onsite or BSE core. So that's an overview. Just to make sure that you know, still on this slide, all core assessments, as we said, are provided by us. They are externally set and they are marked by us. So if I'm just going to start with the construction on-site technical qualification core, which is on the sort of first half of this page. If you look at how the exams are, there are each of the 2 written exams and they are 2 hours each. And they have 90 marks for each of the papers. So just to pick some of those, unpick some of those details on how the core assessments are marked. You can see there that the 2 exam papers are marked using raw marks. Now, raw marks are the number of marks a learner can achieve on an exam or assessment. So in this case, it's a possible 90 marks for each paper. And the total marks achieved for each paper are then aggregated and converted to what we call a uniform mark scale, or UMS. And that gives 1 overall mark for the core exams before any grade boundaries are set. And just to sort of make sure you're very clear, this is the same process of how A-level grades are set and marked, hence the reason this is graded A star to E. Now, the employer set project is 17 hours in duration. You can see the construction one there. And that's based on a series, in this case, it's 6 different tasks. Now, the employer set project is again marked, and that's converted to a uniform mark scale before any grade boundaries are set. And then the marks for the core exam and the ESP, the employer set project, are then aggregated to produce a final UMS or uniform mark scale, and that then triggers the A star to E grade for the core component. So I know that's really sounds quite complex, but if I just unpick it a little bit further again, if we move sort of further down to the BSE on this slide, the BSE technical qualification core assessments again are 2 externally set and marked exams, but these are 2.5 hours each. And the raw marks for these papers are 110 marks each, allocated for each paper. Again, the ESP is also 17 hours in duration, and that has a series of 6 tasks that are relevant to BSE. So that's just giving you a high level overview. If we just move on to the next slide. Now this is moving on to the assessment method for the on-site occupational specialism. Now you can see there, looking at the slide, that each of the occupational specialisms have an externally set assignment that is provided by City and Guilds. Now, what's different with the occupational specialism is that these occupational specialism assignments are going to be released to centre staff towards the end of the learner's programme in year 2. Usually that'll be about the week before Easter each year. The assignment is marked by the centres and will be externally moderated by City and Guilds. And each of the assignments has a series of different practical tasks which will be assessed during the occupational exam set window. So I'm just going to pick on Carpentry and Joinery here, which is, I think it's component 306 as an example. So within the occupational specialism for Carpentry and Joinery, there are 4 specific tasks. and that they total 27 hours. And what we also provide is suggested timings for each of the tasks. So just to give you an idea what that could look like, for task 1, we've suggested 7 hours, task 2, we've got sort of 10 hours, task 3, 8 hours, and task 4, 2 hours, totaling 27 hours in total. Now, there are a possible 90 marks overall for this. Now, how that's calculated is the occupational specialism is based on setting grade boundaries, very similar to sort of the technical qualifications. So grade boundaries are set for a pass and distinction. And the setting of these grade boundaries is based on your judgmental evidence against the grade descriptors for that particular occupational specialism. Now, within the assessor pack, all this information and guidance for the marking of the occupational specialism with examples of what a pass and a distinction criteria looks like, along with band descriptors and examples of suitable evidence. It's all included within your assessor pack for the OS. And just to give a sort of overview, for any centres who have delivered any construction or BSE technical qualifications, this is really a very, very similar assessment methodology to the synoptic assessments or assignments that you're used to. So there isn't any great deal of difference here at all from the way how it's assessed. So just moving on to 20, next slide, please, Rob. So for this one here, you can see, next slide, sorry, it's 29. You've just gone backwards, I think, there. Brilliant. So this is the BSE standalone specialism, slightly different. So for the BSE standalone single occupational specialism, so that's one that obviously you only have one of the OSs, the assessment methods are exactly the same. In other words, it's an externally set, internally marked assignment made up of a series of timed tasks, and that is externally moderated by City and Guilds. The difference from the construction OS and the BSE OS is that the format for the BSE, the format of the tasks are similar. For example, for each of the occupational specialisms, there are 3 tasks. So if I use electrical and electronic equipment engineering as an example, the tasks would be task 1 is planning the installation, task 2 would be installation and commissioning. Task 3 would be carrying out maintenance. If I picked on the second one there, which is electrotechnical engineering, the 3 tasks are again, task 1, planning the installation, task 2, slightly different, installation, commissioning and decommissioning, and task 3, carrying out maintenance. So you can see a familiar pattern there. But as in all occupational specialism assignments, timings for each task are provided to, to support your centre planning. Moving on to my last slide, slide 30, slightly different again here, because for the BSE paired or combined occupational specialisms, there are 2 externally set assignments which are marked separately. Now, the assignments follow the same process as the standalone OSs, and if I just use plumbing and heating engineering as an example, so you complete 1 assignment for plumbing engineering, from which there are 3 tasks. Task 1, planning the installation. Task 2, installation, commissioning and decommission. And task 3, carrying out maintenance. For the second assignment for the heating part of that combined specialism, the 3 tasks have the same titles, but those titles will relate purely to heating engineering. Now, both assignments are marked by the centre and they're externally moderated by City and Guilds. Now, City and Guilds will then submit those marks for each assignment to the Department for Education, and they aggregate the overall grade for the occupational specialism from their end. And that is the grade for the OS that appears on the certificate, which is produced by the ESFA. Now, I'm asked for more information on this proposal of how they're going to aggregate those 2 grades, which I will have as soon as I can and share with you how they, because what we don't know as an organisation at the moment is, are they compensatory, which is the first question I would ask. So as soon as I have that information, I will be providing that in one of my later webinars when we go into the assessments in great detail. So I think that's my little bit done. So I'm going to hand back over to Rob there, if that's okay.
Thanks, Ali. Yeah, and Ali just mentioned that's an overview for you. We will be recapping some of that information and going into more detail. We'll be planning some webinars all around the assessment model and methodologies and things like that for around April time. So when we're looking at support, one thing you need to sign up for and encourage colleagues to sign up for to make sure you don't miss any of the future events around assessment and future topics is this link here, which one of my colleagues might be able to drop in the chat to assist as well. If you want to sign up while we're on the webinar or a later date, cut and paste it maybe into an email to send to colleagues. But this is how you get the latest email alerts, basically. So we're advertising some in the near future around some networks to bring you all together to talk about how you're planning things for pre-delivery centres, and we're bringing some of the in-delivery centres in together to talk about how things are going. It's not all about listening to presentations from us. It's about getting centres talking to each other as well. So make sure you signed up on this link from the slide. As you can see, very minimal details needed, and then you'll get all the latest alerts to make sure you get the latest events and information. Quick update on the books. We've got Hodder, who are supporting delivery of the on-site construction and building services core books. They're still planned in for spring this year, so should be, very they're in time for delivery and planning for use for delivering the core. There is also some mapping grids which show how the current books. So I use maybe plumbing or brick as an example. We've got books in those topics. Hodder have created mapping grids so they can show which sections of the books are relevant to which sections of T-level. So if you currently have copies of those Hodder books for the specialisms, they'll be useful for T-level as well. There's freely downloadable mapping grids from that Hodder T-level webpage. They're also offering things like, samples, chapters, and offers to proofread material and things like that. So, get onto that webpage if you're interested more in the books. Hodder are our new publishing partner, basically. We don't now, produce and publish our own material. So with regards to our own material, though, what we generally call Smart Screen is available for T-levels just on the website. You can see the little screen grab there on the slide. You just have to go to T-level and then resources and then deliver resources, or there's a link there to it takes you to the T-level providers page as well. There's lots of material on that with regards to the core. So there's full, what we generally call Smart Screen support for the core, but it's freely downloadable on the website. So, when you're starting to prepare lessons, maybe you're going away before the summer and you're coming back in September to teach, the resources are there now, so you can start downloading those, having a look, maybe want to add bits and pieces to it, maybe look at sample materials from Hodder. You'll have the books in spring. So I know that a lot of this core is new, and we're going to be doing the next sort of cohort webinars looking at the core, or Teams meetings looking at the core. There's a lot of resource to support your delivery in that. So when you're planning, you can include that in your curriculum, in your schemes of work, lesson plans and things like that. So there's also loads of stuff on the City and Guilds website. We mentioned the key dates for delivery, didn't we? The timeline. We've mentioned the delivery road resources, but there's also provider focus groups, employer industry boards your employers can get involved in. Lots of material on there, so well worth having a browse round. Don't go developing your own material if it's already been developed there for you, basically. So well worth a look. So there's a lot of free route tutor resources in the specific section, and they include, this is the Smart Screen type material I were on about, schemes of work, lesson plans, PowerPoint. So if you're curriculum planning, I'm not saying you're going to use these schemes of work in their own format. A lot of centres drop them into their own template and things like that, as well as the lesson plans, but they're all linked to the PowerPoints and things like that. So really good resource to kick you off. Once you've got your curriculum plans in place and you know what you're going to be delivering in each week's, you can then adapt these tutor resources, which have got the the associated PowerPoints, everything, which show you in that screen grab. You can then use to support your delivery moving forward. So that's about us really with regards to presentation. There is though a little centre feedback form. We'll want to try and get these filled in simply because one of the key things and the key questions in this survey is what you want from us for the future. So we can keep putting on events, you know, what we think you need, but we really want to know what you actually need. So we're going to give you a couple of minutes now. We're going to cut and paste that survey into the link, into the chat, sorry. And we're going to give you a couple of minutes to complete the survey and then open up any questions and things like that you've got. Feel free to type those in the questions tab. It's a pretty, you know, these webinars are pretty early on. We appreciate it's a way away T-levels yet, you know, questions haven't been too heavy, but you know, anything you've got, there's no silly question, drop it in the chat. Anything you need regarding to T-level, it doesn't have to be what we've discussed today even. Drop your questions in the tab and we'll try and answer those. Okay, I'll just pause for a couple of minutes and then colleagues might be able to come back with any questions we've got already. I can't view the questions at the moment because I'm in presenter mode. So I'm going to come out of that and give you a couple of minutes to complete the survey.
Just to let you know, guys, whilst you're completing that survey, if you have a smartphone, you can scan the QR code. That'll take you to the survey as well. In the chat box, I've put quite a few links in there. One of the other ones I just wanted to share with you was a link to our leaflets. So obviously, as you're planning to deliver the T-levels, obviously you need to be engaging with learners or potential learners. So there's a couple of leaflets or links to the leaflets in the chat there as well, which you may want to print off, put on your website, etc. And it's just a high-level information for potential learners and parents who may be looking to come onto a T-level as well. So that's one of the links in the chat. I put that on at 12:51. At 12:53, I put another link on, which was a link to our 12-month countdown. The 12-month countdown basically has run from September 2021 and it runs up till August 2022 this year, and it's basically a rundown of all of the different events and webinars and stuff that as TAs and we put on with colleagues from EAL to support you guys in the planning and preparation. So it's worth downloading that as well, so you can keep an eye out as to which events are coming up in which month. They are subject to change for different reasons. If something's cancelled for whatever reason, and it may have to go back a month or something. So just bear that in mind, but it just gives you an idea of what's coming up when and where. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason. We've only had one question at the moment, just around clarification of the exams. You know, they're purely knowledge-based. So the core exams, yes, they are knowledge-based. The practical elements, so basically the occupational specialisms, though, then are assessed simply by synoptic assignment at the end of the second year. So, you know, Ali will be going into that depth and the detail around all that, as well as some hints and tips around exam preparation and how to prepare for synoptics and how synoptics are delivered and time frames for delivery and all that. Today is simply just a little bit of an overview of how things are assessed. We're going to take you on that journey. We're going to look at the core in more detail in future sessions because that's quite new. mostly the occupational specialism stuff is most centres bread and butter. The core's quite new, so we're looking that in more detail. We're going to take you through each occupational specialism outcome, give you a chance to feedback, ask questions, things like that. We're then going to do assessment principles. We'll be doing networks for you to get together and chat, which is actually the next session, where you can ask questions about maybe this year's delivery to some of the technical advisors. So we'll be going through a lot of that in future sessions. Still carry on, please, if you don't mind, just telling us what you want from those sessions in that survey. We will give it a couple of minutes. We've not seen any more questions coming through at the moment. We'll give it a couple more minutes, though, for people just to finish off that survey and type in any future questions they've got. We don't want to keep people unnecessarily. We appreciate you might want to go away and finish your lunch before you've got to perhaps run away back teaching. Okay, we're not seeing any more questions come through at the moment. So just from myself and
Rob,
the rest. Sorry,
Rob,
go on, Ali.
could I ask a quick question while we've got some people attending there? Because obviously I really want to know what support that centres, are. Obviously ETF has their own programme for professional development and CPD. If you could just pop in the sort of chat button, what sort of things would you like to see covered to help you with exam techniques? Anything that you can, I can structure a program around your needs. I mean, what sort of information are you looking for? Is it how to train techniques for learners? Is it sort of how techniques for yourselves to sort of understand command verbs and questions, how to train learners, how to answer questions as such? Anything that you could give me would be so helpful, because this is such a new program that you really got an opportunity to build it as we want. That that helps yourselves. Sorry, that was all, Rob. I just wanted to get any feedback that centres can give me.
No problem. Yeah, feel free to drop anything you want. I mean, there is things in the survey. They also asked the question in the survey around future support and anything else you want. So yeah, feel free to include those notes in the survey as well, which around the questions for future support sessions, or just drop something in the chat. We can pick that up. Drop it in the questions tab. We'll find it however you sort of do. But yeah, the more you tell us what you want and things like Ali's future sessions on assessment, the more you can sort of tailor that to your needs. That will make it hopefully a more worthwhile session.
Yeah.
So
sorry, Rob, I just picked up on the fact that, raw marks and sort of the A* to E's and the sort of conversion and aggregation to overall, like it's a form of norm referencing might be new to some centres.
Yeah, so anything like that you want more information on, feel free to drop us a little note. We'll leave the webcam open, sorry, the webinar open for a few minutes, so you can drop anything like that in the chat before we close, as well as finishing off the survey. But apart from that, I'd just like to say thanks for you giving up your time. Hope to see you at future webinars and Teams meetings. We are running more Teams meetings than we potentially did last year. We found them a little bit more interactive than webinars, and people can open up and ask questions a little bit more and talk to other centres. So when you see invites to Eventbrite later on for future sessions, they'll actually be Teams meetings where you join through Eventbrite, and then you'll hopefully have the chance to build relationships with other colleges who are delivering T-level for next year and are in a similar situation. So apart from that, thanks from me and all the team, and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll leave things open if you want to pass any information on before we close. Thanks, everybody. Okay, I can't see anything in the chat and questions tab. We have had something around industry placement if the attendee is still on. We will be looking at that in future sessions, but a lot of the information is on the gov.uk website. If you just Google, search T-levels on there, sorry, you will then be able to be directed to a lot of the information around industry placement, what's required, things like that. But we'll be covering a lot of that in future sessions as well. Okay, I think we're going to close the webinar now for all and hopefully speak to you soon. Thanks everybody, enjoy the rest of your day.